You spent 6 months grinding through language apps. You memorized the flashcards, perfected your verb conjugations, and finally step off the bus in Ipanema. You feel prepared. You have the vocabulary to order a coffee, ask for directions, and hold a polite conversation with anyone on the street. This flowchart illustrates what happens next. You attempt an interaction with a local, expecting a clear textbook exchange. Instead, the response hits like a wall. Syllables disappear, and every sentence is layered with heavy hissing noises your study modules never prepared you for. That gap between the formal Portuguese you studied and the actual language spoken on the street is the Carioca dialect. It is specific to the people of Rio de Janeiro. Drilling more standard grammar exercises won't solve this. To actually communicate here, you have to pivot your strategy away from formal correctness and focus on matching the local rhythm. Carioca Portuguese is the most internationally recognized Brazilian accent. It carries the history of bossa nova and shapes the voice of Brazilian films exported overseas. But global recognition does not translate to immediate street-level comprehension for a foreigner. You face a direct trade-off. Sticking to textbook correctness keeps you linguistically isolated. To sound like a local, you must willingly break the formal rules you spend months learning. We are going to deconstruct the specific structural differences. You will learn the pronunciation quirks and vocabulary shifts needed to drop the textbook rigidity. When you mirror that rhythm, the distance between you and the person behind the counter immediately begins to disappear. They stop treating you like a visiting student and start treating you like a neighbor. The steepest hurdle for new arrivals is a phonetic shift centered entirely on the letter S. Standard Brazilian Portuguese dictates that an S at the end of a syllable or word maintains a crisp, clear S sound. This comparison matrix illustrates the divergence. In Rio, when an S appears before a consonant or at the end of a word, it transforms into a heavy, distinct sh. A basic word like vamos becomes vamos, está becomes está. You hear it everywhere. It is the defining signature of the city. Every single sentence spoken by a local carries this rhythm. When you adopt this sh sound, even if your vocabulary is limited, you immediately signal to a local that you are actively listening to their culture. That effort bridges the trust gap faster than perfect grammar. Next, you have to drop the formal greetings. Approaching a casual street vendor with a rigid "Olá, como vai?" marks you as a visitor reading from a script. Looking at our matrix, we see the replacement. In Rio, almost every interaction opens with "ie," literally "and there," but practically meaning "what's up?" The response is equally efficient. Do not overthink it. You just say "tudo," all good. Trading forced politeness for this exact two-word exchange establishes you as someone who operates on the city's frequency. Traditional Portuguese relies on strict hierarchical pronouns. In Rio, using those creates a cold, unnecessary distance. Cariocas strip that distance away by replacing pronouns with casual address words, applying them across all gers to instantly invite you into the fold. The baseline term is cara, meaning dude or man. You will use and hear this in nearly every informal setting to keep the tone light and friendly. When the connection deepens, the vocabulary shifts. Meu irmão, a contracted form of my brother, or véi, meaning old one, are raw, inclusive terms used to signal real camaraderie. There is a slight social risk in throwing these words around too early as a foreigner, but measuring the room and using them correctly makes locals drop their guard much faster. If a local calls you cara or bicho, they are offering you warmth. Recognizing that is how you build rapport. The physical environment of Rio directly dictates the verbs locals use to navigate it. A textbook teaches you to say, vou à praia, I am going to the beach. A carioca says, vou descendo, I am going down. The logic is practical. The neighborhoods are built into steep hillsides, so leaving your house to head toward the water requires a physical descent. That same practicality applies to how Cariocas handle urban friction. Infrastructure fails, buses run late, and plans frequently collapse. The mandatory response to this chaos is desenrola, figure it out, adapt, improvise. It is a total rejection of stress in favor of immediate problem solving. When you tell a friend vou descendo or say se desenrola to fix a broken plan, you prove you understand the physical and mental flow of the city. You do not need absolute slang fluency to have a good trip. Your required language effort scales directly with your location and your goals. This quadrant chart maps out exactly where you should focus your energy. If you are a short-term tourist staying in the resort zones of Ipanema or Leblon, you belong in the bottom left. Stop memorizing complex verb tenses. Learn the top 10 attitude words like show, maneiro, and suave, and focus purely on basic survival warmth. But if you are an expat or nomad looking to build a life in local heavy neighborhoods like Lapa or Botafogo, the rhythm of life moves faster. Without these street phrases, you'll find yourself constantly asking people to repeat themselves and staying on the periphery of the community. Matching your vocabulary investment to your target neighborhood prevents wasted effort and maximizes your social return. The final obstacle is practice. Traditional language apps sanitize their audio, stripping out the regional rhythms you actually need to learn. Street Tongue fixes this. It is an app designed specifically for street-level language, regional slang, and local pronunciation scoring, so you can practice the Carioca sh before you arrive. Check the link in the description to download Street Tongue from the App Store and start closing your dialect gap right now. Learning Carioca slang signals that you've actually paid attention to the city's heartbeat. It turns a transaction into a connection. And in Rio, that effort is almost always repaid with genuine hospitality. Before you go, head down to the comments. Drop one slang phrase from your hometown that a tourist would never find in a textbook, and let us know exactly what it means.